Last summer, I stood in my garden with a hose in one hand and my water bill in the other. And I realized something that honestly made me a little sick. I was spending more money keeping my plants alive than I ever spent planting them. Hundreds of dollars just on water. And the crazy part? Most of it was evaporating before my plants could even use it. So I did what any frustrated gardener would do. I ran a test. 7 different mulch types. Same garden, same soil, same plants, same sun. And after 12 weeks of tracking moisture levels, pulling back layers, and measuring exactly how much water each bed actually needed, one mulch type cut my watering by 80%. 80. I'm still kind of stunned by that number. I've been gardening for over 12 years now, and for most of that time, I thought mulch was mulch. You throw something on the ground, it keeps weeds down, maybe it looks nice. End of story. I never gave it much more thought than that. So I'd grab whatever bags were on sale at the garden center, spread them around, and move on with my life. And honestly, my garden was fine. Not great. Fine. But about 3 years ago, I started paying closer attention to my soil. I got a moisture meter, one of those cheap ones with the metal probe, and I started actually checking what was going on beneath the surface. And what I found surprised me. Some of my beds were bone dry just 2 days after a deep watering, while others, with different stuff on top, were still holding moisture almost a week later. Same garden, same rain, same irrigation schedule. The only variable was the mulch. That's when I realized I'd been treating mulch like decoration when it's actually one of the most powerful tools in the entire garden. So I started researching. I talked to old-timers at the farmer's market, read university extension studies, dug into everything I could find. And what I learned completely changed how I garden. My water usage dropped. My soil health improved. My plants started performing better than they had in years, all because I finally took mulch seriously. Here's what nobody talks about when they say, just water your garden. The actual cost of keeping soil moist through a full growing season is staggering. Let's do some quick math. If you're running a garden hose for 30 minutes a day, which is pretty common in July and August, you're using roughly 900 gallons of water per month. In most parts of the country, that adds somewhere between $40 and $80 to your water bill every single month during peak summer. Over a 5-month growing season, that's $200 to $400 just on water. And here's the part that really gets me. Studies from Texas A&M and several other ag programs have shown that in exposed soil with no cover at all, up to 70% of the water you apply evaporates before it ever reaches the root zone. 70%. That means for every gallon you pour on, your plants might only get 1/3 of it. The rest just vanishes into the air. And what do most gardeners do when their plants look stressed? They water more. They water longer. They add drip systems, soaker hoses, timers, and the bills keep climbing. It's a cycle, and I was stuck in it for years. The garden center isn't going to tell you this either. They'd rather sell you a sprinkler system than teach you how to hold moisture in the ground naturally. And I don't say that to be cynical. It's just how retail works. Their business model depends on you coming back every month for more supplies, more amendments, more solutions to problems that, in a lot of cases, better mulching would prevent in the first place. The real kicker is the soil damage. When bare soil gets blasted by sun all day, it forms a hard crust on the surface. That crust repels water instead of absorbing it. So now you're watering more, and the water is running off instead of soaking in. It's a downward spiral. and almost nobody connects it back to one simple missing layer on top of the soil. So last March, I decided to stop guessing and actually test this. Side by side, same conditions, same variables, 7 different mulch types. No opinions, no assumptions, just data. Here are the 7 I chose. Number 1, wood chips, the classic. I used a mix of hardwood chips from a local tree service. Number 2, straw, the kind you'd find at any feed store. Number 3, shredded leaves, which I collected and ran through a leaf shredder the previous fall. Number 4, grass clippings, the fresh from the lawn. Number 5, pine needles, also called pine straw, raked from under a stand of pines on my property. Number 6, compost, a thick layer of finished compost used as a top dressing. And number 7, cardboard, layered flat and wetted down, sometimes called sheet mulching. Now, I want to be upfront about something. These aren't exotic materials. There's no miracle product here. Every single one of these is either free or nearly free for most homesteaders. That's part of the point. You shouldn't need to spend a fortune on mulch. The science behind why mulch works is actually pretty simple. It creates a barrier between the soil and the atmosphere. That barrier reduces evaporation, moderates soil temperature, keeping it cooler in summer and warmer in early spring, and over time, organic mulches break down and feed the soil beneath them. But not all mulches create that barrier equally. That's what I wanted to measure. Let me walk you through exactly how I set this up, because the method matters just as much as the results. I built 7 identical raised beds, each one 4 feet by 4 feet, filled with the same garden soil mix, about 60% topsoil, 30% compost, and 10% perlite for drainage. I planted the same variety of tomato in each bed, Early Girl, because they're consistent, and I know how they perform in my climate. Same transplant size, same planting depth, same day. Then I applied each mulch type to its own bed. And here's where I want you to pay attention, because depth matters a lot. For the wood chips, I laid down a 4-inch layer. That's the sweet spot most extension services recommend. Too thin, and it doesn't suppress weeds or hold moisture. Too thick, and you can actually suffocate the soil and create fungal problems. 4 inches. For straw, I went a little thicker, about 5 to 6 inches. Straw is looser and fluffier than wood chips, so it compresses over time. What starts as 6 inches settles to about 3 within a few weeks. If you only put 2 inches of straw down, it's basically useless within a month. Go thick. For shredded leaves, I used about 3 to 4 inches. Shredded is the key word here. Whole leaves mat together when they get wet and form a slimy layer that actually repels water, the opposite of what you want. But shredded leaves? They nestle into each other, create air pockets, and break down beautifully. If you don't have a leaf shredder, just run your lawnmower over a pile a few times. Works great. Now here's where most people make a critical mistake with grass clippings. They pile them on thick and fresh. Don't do that. Fresh grass clippings in a thick layer heat up fast. They can actually cook your plant stems and create an anaerobic mat that smells terrible and breeds mold. But I applied grass clippings in thin layers, about 1 to 2 inches, and let each layer dry slightly before adding the next. Total depth, about 3 inches, but built up over 2 weeks, not all at once. Pine needles I laid down about 3 inches deep. And before anyone comments, no, pine needles do not significantly acidify your soil. That's one of the most persistent myths in gardening. Multiple university studies have confirmed that pine needle mulch has a negligible effect on soil pH. Use them freely. They're actually fantastic. The needles interlock and stay in place even in heavy rain and wind, which is more than I can say for straw. For compost as mulch, I applied a 2-inch layer on top of the soil. Now, compost is a bit different because it's not just a moisture barrier, it's actively feeding the soil. But as a standalone mulch for moisture retention, that's what I wanted to test. 2 inches spread evenly, right up to, but not touching, the plant stems. And finally, cardboard. I laid down single-layer corrugated cardboard, overlapping the edges by about 4 inches so there were no gaps. Then I soaked it thoroughly with a hose. I removed any tape or staples first, and I made sure to use plain brown cardboard, no glossy prints or heavy inks. I cut a hole for the tomato stem to come through. On its own, cardboard looks a little rough. But here's the thing. It works as a base layer incredibly well. For 12 weeks, from mid-April through early July, I measured soil moisture at a 4-inch depth every single morning using the same probe meter. Same time, same spot in each bed. I also tracked how often each bed needed supplemental watering to keep the soil in the moist range. Not soggy, not dry. And I kept notes on soil temperature, weed pressure, and overall plant health. But here's where it gets really interesting, and I honestly did not expect these results to be this spread out. After 12 weeks of tracking, the differences between these 7 mulches weren't just noticeable, they were dramatic. Let me give you the breakdown, starting from the bottom. Grass clippings. They decomposed so fast that by week 6, they were essentially gone. Moisture retention was moderate at best. I'd give them a C- for this purpose. Compost. Similar story. Great for soil health, but as a moisture barrier, it dried out almost as fast as bare ground in full sun. Dye straw held up better. Decent moisture retention, maybe a 30 to 35% reduction in watering needs. Respectable. Pine needles. Surprisingly good. About a 40% reduction. And they still looked great at week 12. Barely broke down at all. Shredded leaves performed really well. Around 50 to 55% reduction. They also broke down into this gorgeous crumbly layer that the earthworms absolutely loved. Now, wood chips. This is the one I expected to win. And they were excellent. About a 60% reduction in watering. Durable, effective, widely available. A solid choice. But the winner, the one that cut my watering by a full 80%, was the cardboard layer with wood chips on top. Cardboard alone was good. Wood chips alone were great. But together, they created this moisture-trapping system that was in a completely different category. The cardboard blocked evaporation from beneath, while the wood chips shielded the cardboard from sun and kept it from drying out and curling. The soil underneath stayed consistently moist, even during a 9-day stretch in June where we got 0 rain and temperatures hit 95 degrees. I barely watered that bed. It's almost hard to believe until you see it. The water savings alone would pay for themselves within a single season, except the materials were free. The cardboard came from grocery store dumpsters, and the wood chips came from a tree service that was happy to dump them in my driveway instead of paying landfill fees. Total cost, $0. Compare that to commercial landscape fabric, which can run $50 to $100 for a decent garden setup, and breaks down into microplastic fragments in your soil within a few years. The cardboard and wood chip method is cheaper, more effective, and it actually improves your soil as it decomposes. There's really no downside. Here's what I want you to do this weekend. Pick one bed in your garden, just one, and try the combination that won this test. Lay down a single layer of plain corrugated cardboard, overlap the edges, soak it, then cover it with 3 to 4 inches of wood chips. Water it in well and then just watch. Check the soil moisture after 3 days, then after a week. I think you're going to be pretty impressed by what you find. Drop a comment below and tell me, which mulch have you been using, and are you going to try the cardboard and chip combo? I read every single comment, and I'd love to hear what's been working, or not working, in your garden. If you're interested in learning more about building soil health without buying anything from the store, I've got a video on composting in place that ties into this perfectly. And if you want to take your water savings even further, my video on rain catchment systems for small gardens is a great next step. This is what real self-sufficiency looks like. It's not about spending more money on fancier products. It's about understanding how nature already works and just getting out of the way. You don't need a big budget. You don't need special equipment. You need cardboard, wood chips, and a willingness to try something different. Everything you need, you probably already have. So get out there this weekend and give your garden the layer it's been missing. I think you'll be amazed at the difference. I know I was.